Hey, good morning to those of you out there on the West Coast. Good afternoon to those of you here on the East Coast with me. It's a beautiful day, so I got a lot more extra energy. Um, I get asked this a lot out there about whether it's new people or people who have been with companies for a while in the federal market, where they ask this question about whether the government buys what I sell. And we have a stock answer. Those of us who like to answer questions is that yes, of course, the government buys everything, but that's not a really good representation for you or it's not a really good answer for you. It's like, okay, thanks, you just told me they buy everything, but where and who and how much, right? That's a whole different depth of that question of whether the government buys what I sell. And so today's training, that's what I'm going to be going into is um, talking about what the government buys. I'm going to do real world training today, meaning, well, I always do real world training, but today I'm going to go into FPDS, in this case, Federal Procurement Data System, and I'm going to show you how to answer this question yourself, how to dive deep in to the government's data to understand what are they buying, where are they buying it at, and who is buying it, who being which agency, which person, like contract officers, et cetera. So this is really important to understand. What I'm going to teach today is just one way of answering the question, does the government buy what I sell? Or where can I find the agencies, the top agencies that are buying the most of what I sell, right? I'm going to share one way. Me, myself, I have multiple ways, all right? The way I'm showing you today is my favorite, but there's other ways that I'll go do it. But also there's so many of us out there, people like me, who can coach you on this particular topic and show you maybe some of the ways that they do it. If you haven't taken advantage of the Apex accelerators, this is a DoD supported entity around the country. So there's about 90 of these Apex accelerators, and the services to you for the most part are free, but you can go in there and talk to them about what we're going to do in today's training and ask them, and they will help you expand as well. And so there you can get kind of counseling, free counseling on diving deeper in. This is especially valuable to people who are brand new to the market. Having an Apex counselor who's right there near you might be really helpful. So anyways, that's what we're going to dive into. I'm not really breaking it up like I typically do in multiple sections. I'm really just going to go right in a second. I'm going to go right into FPDS and just start showing you how I go through it, not some sort of formally laid out, everything's perfect, and everything I do works. I want to show it to you as if you and I are sitting together and I'm doing it. It's like a maze. I'm trying to go from one end of the maze to the other end of the maze where, you're looking for that path that goes through. But what happens when you do a maze is you often hit a wall, right? And you're like, all right, let me turn around and go back. Let me go back to that last decision point and make another decision and move forward. And you're moving through the maze. Good training like this about FPDS in particular, it's not helpful for me to just show you a path straight through the maze. Right? I want to show you what it's really like when you walk through the maze yourself by yourself. And so that's why I'm going to go into the tool and really dive deep in there. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonald. I am the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. I am founder of Call Plan AI, and I want to welcome you to my federal sales training, where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years in the federal market as a small business owner after I got out of the Army. And since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting and FPDS is not a secret, it's just a process. When you follow a process A to Z, you have repeatable, predictable results. This is what I want for you. If you're not connected with me already, follow me on LinkedIn. If you're not sharing a lot of content, then it's okay to just follow me. Also, subscribe to my Government Contracting Success newsletter. It is the largest GovCon newsletter on LinkedIn by far. It's bigger than DoD's. It grows faster than the SBA itself. And it's because I put out really good content. This week alone, you can look at two different articles. One example is USDA, how to do business, how to navigate USDA. And there's people in there, the org chart, things like that. And this newsletter is designed to make your life easier. It's to accelerate your research activity. So go ahead and check those out. Okay, so let me get rocking and rolling. Because I don't have slides, which is an unusual thing for me, I just got to bounce back and forth. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to talk about before I flip over to FPDS is that why is it important for you to sit there and do this research? Where the title of this is, I think, how to see which federal agencies are buying the most of what you sell, right? Why is it important to know that? If you know which agencies are buying what you what you sell and buying the most of it. And you'll see some drastic examples in today's training. When you know that, it focuses your marketing effort and your business development effort. Business development being going into an agency and building relationships, learning about that agency, and hearing about opportunities, right? So that's business development. But if you don't know which agencies are selling it, you're trying to sell to the federal government. If you do this research, like I'm talking to you about today, you'll be able to narrow that down and go, oh, this agency buys way more than anybody else. I'll give you a quick example is lawn care. It's something I've been using the last couple of days. Lawn care. If you go to the U.S. Department of Education, they have a very minimal spend on lawn care because they're basically housed inside of a city building. There's not a lot of lawn care there. There's some, right? So they definitely buy it, but minimal. Compared to if you go to the Department of Army, they have all these military bases all around the country. And so they spend massively on lawn care services so that their personnel, the military, like I was, right? Back when I was in, they would make us go out there. They wouldn't get a good job at that. But anyway, so they spend a lot more on lawn care. That's important for you. You want to understand this because it focuses your energy. When you look forward into your 2026, which is January through December, you want to know, how am I going to be going to get the money that will achieve the revenue goals that I have set for myself? And the way you do that is determine the agency that's buying the most or enough of what you sell so that you can go in there and knock on their door and try to sell your company in there to fulfill that requirement that they have for lawn care, or for cybersecurity, for AI, whatever it is. So that's one reason. The other reason it's really important to understand which agencies are kind of the top agencies is I really strongly believe that your path to success, no matter really what level you're at, includes subcontracting. Now, if you're below 5 million, I would say it only includes subcontracting. But who are you subcontracting with? Well, you're subcontracting with the companies that are winning those prime contracts with the Army or Department of Education, for example, right? And so by knowing which agencies are spending the most on what you sell, you'll be able to find all sorts of winners, large and small businesses, companies that are winning contracts you wish you won. An example is, and I'll use it today, I was doing a little practice prep for today's training, make sure I got all my things going to give you good training. And one example I used was American Sign Language. And there's this really great contract. The challenge with that contract is it just got awarded in June 2025. And so that means Graham, who might be on today's call, I was using them as an example. They do American Sign Language, and so they'll have to wait. But now that they know this agency is spending this much, it was a good amount, they can put them in the pipeline. And sometimes I know if you're new to the game, 4 years out can sound far. But if you've been in the game for a while, like Graham has been in the game for a while, putting an opportunity in 4 years out saying, hey, it's going to expire in 5 years. In 4 years, let's start trying to win it, right? And you don't have to do that. That is just because I got lucky at seeing it. I really do want to target things that are selling or on the market, if you will, in 2025 here and then going into 26. So these are just a couple of reasons on why it's important to understand the top agencies that buy what you sell. One last thing about this, some services like cybersecurity, completely a need across all agencies and a pretty good spend across all agencies. Clearly, the Department of Defense has a much higher spend, Department of Homeland Security, much higher spend on cybersecurity than maybe some of the other agencies, but all of them have a really high spend compared to like lawn care, right? Or some of the other technology services that are out there, or training, HR, et cetera. And so what I want you to understand is, when you're looking for what you sell, if you niche it down, sometimes what you're trying to sell isn't too clearly defined. For example, with Graham, I used American Sign Language. Well, the government pretty much buys that standalone. So it's fairly easy to find. But if you think about, you're a great painter, the government doesn't too often buy just painting. And I know they do, but often they buy painting together with other things. And so what I want you to consider is, if you've done a good job and you've niched down on what you sell, you're like, hey, this is our tight focus. Well, what might be the bigger bucket that the government is buying what you sell? So hopefully that makes sense. An example is like risk management framework in cyber. They're not really buying risk management framework. They're buying risk management framework as part of a bigger contract. So when you begin to understand what the big contract is, you'll be able to get in there. You can do a lot of research out there, but I'm going to start diving in. One last thing before I do, so I don't have to interrupt our training, is I just wanted to thank our sponsor. And let me find my little sheet here. And let me turn my face off for 1 second. I wanted to thank Voltron. Voltron is our sponsor of these lives for the next year, and I really appreciate their support. I hope you appreciate it as well. Because of their support, I'm able to bring day after day training to you. So Voltron's an AI proposal writing tool. That's my words for them. But they help you write more winning federal proposals with their purpose-built AI. They help you go from finding that solicitation to writing compliant, compelling drafts that you can review right away in minutes, not weeks. And that's a really big deal. So check out Voltron, even just as a way to say thank you to them. Maybe throw in the comment, thanks, Voltron. And again, Mac and Voltron, thank you very much. The other thing is, if you understand that FPDS is the power to what we do about finding where the government is buying what I sell, then put FPDS rocks in the chat. One last quick question, just to get everybody on the same page, because a lot of us are very experienced, but sometimes we have newer people. FPDS stands for the Federal Procurement Data System. It is basically the single repository of everything the government has bought, right? There's some things that don't go in there and it doesn't matter right now, but basically it's got everything the government has ever bought for years and years back, right? That is combined with other tools like SAM. SAM.gov has far less of the information. So it has far less information about the awarded contracts, but it also has things like upcoming opportunities, et cetera. And so I just want to put those two in perspective as we go forward. We're going to be focusing on FPDS because it does tell me where the government is spent. All right, let's go have some fun in FPDS. Oh, one other thing I wanted to do is as we go along, give me a couple of seconds. Let me know what you sell. And thanks for a little shout out to Voltron. Let me know what you sell in a couple of words, because I can use it as an example. If I can remember to come back here to the chat, I can use it as an example to find what you sell. But let's just start off with how I do this, the fundamentals of using FPDS. So you come to fpds.gov. It's got this page. It really is a useless page. So I just put in whatever and I hit enter. This is where I want to be. And so when you come in, you'll see your search activity at the very top. And what I'm looking for is advanced search button over on the right-hand side. And now there's an option for search within the existing results or new search. Let's just do a new search, and that's where we start. So the first thing I'm going to do is I just want to look at the last 2 years. And so I could look at this in a couple of ways. I'm going to look at contracts that have been signed in the last 2 years. You can play around with the data in many different ways. I'm just using a couple of examples for our 22 minutes left together, or 18 minutes. So the date signed is just when they signed something. This is different than what I would use to go out into 2026 and plan out everything specifically. Then I would use a field called the estimated completion date. I'll show you both of those. And then the other thing I'm looking for is a description of the work. So let's go ahead and come in here. I'm going to scroll down, and I said I'm looking for date signed right there. And I'm going to use, I already have a date set up. So basically this is 2 fiscal years. The last 2 years, I'm saying anything that was signed. Remember, I'm trying to find agencies that buy what I sell. I'm not trying to go into a crazy heavy amount of detail just yet. So if I just hit search for a second, I'm like, all right, date signed. I don't know if you can see this, but it looks like it's 12 million things in the last 2 years. These are just, it's not even task orders. It's just activity in here. So don't read a lot into it yet. So let's add another field within that same search. Now I want to start going down onto the description. And this is where I get to finding what the government buys. And I'm going to play here for a little bit with you. So let's just take sign language, since I already have it there and I got it lined up. So I'm going to search. I just went, what did I do? Oh, I made a little mistake there. Hold on. I don't know if you could see my screen in detail, but I had extra quotes. So now I went from 12,100,000 and something entities inside of FPDS down to 1,000 that are related to sign language services. And so this is really good for Graham if I'm using them as the company as an example. I'm going to come down here now, and right here, hopefully you can see this stuff. I don't know how much I need to zoom in like this, but if I come in, you can see all these fields you can sort on. The ones that really matter are date, sign, the ones that matter to me. are date signed and action obligation. That basically is the size of the contract. The rest of the stuff, I don't really care for sorting. So let's just say I'm going to do action obligation because I don't need that negative 100,000. Well, here's a $2 million contract, right? So I can look at this and sorry, right here, it's telling me it's a $2 million contract. So let's go ahead and look inside here. I'm looking to see what agencies are buying what I sell. If I come in here, I'm just trying to verify that these opportunities look like what I want. And so this is a task order for sign language interpreting services. It could not be more clear that this is exactly what I want if I was Graham and I'm trying to buy that kind of service, right? And thanks to Graham for letting me use it. I can learn all sorts of details in here, and today's training is not really about the extra details, but I can see it was awarded as 8A competed, and there was 6 firms, which is interesting because I know if you go into DSBS, for example, there's not that many 8As who say they do that in there. So there's a way for Graham to differentiate themselves. Anyways, if I come back up, you can see here that it's just, this is kind of amazing. It's a $2 million contract. And the time period is pretty short. They just kept going forward. I would have expected there to be a much larger contract. So let's pause for 1 second because I'm going to show you a lot of different things and you just got to keep up and you can watch the replay. But a couple of things. First off, I've got the contract officers in the top right here, right? I can look here and this is the Social Security Office, Social Security Administration. I can look there and I can find that. So I'm going to pause for 1 second on FPDS. This is how I found an opportunity at FPDS. Now I can take this and say, well, let me research my competitor. Frankly, I've never even heard of this competitor before, and I've been, working with Graham off and on for a while. So I'm going to hit Control C on their UEI, and I'm going to go over here to USA Spending, right? And so inside of USA Spending, come on. Oh, by the way, yes, the government has shut down. Let me pause for 1 second. Where's my thing really quick and just come back. The government is shut down. I have been doing this so long in government contracting, even when I was in the Army, right? So even farther back, the government often shuts down. There are often times when people are furloughed. There are often times when people are just fired out of the government, RIFs, they call them. These things suck, but they are happening and they're a reality. And so I don't not care about it. But when I look at this, I say, what can I do? What can I do while 500,000 out of the 700,000 civilians within DOD are not there anymore? Well, I can do my prep work. I can work as if I know that in a week or 2 weeks or something, Congress will get their act together and everybody will be back to work. Hopefully everybody, right? But it's my job as a salesperson, as a business owner, to focus on how do I keep doing the work, right? 5 minutes focus on how much it sucks. And then, okay, what can we do? And this is why I like what I'm training today is you're prepping yourself for how do I do sales when they come back? How do I start pursuing opportunities in 2026? Just because I focus on the work does not mean I don't care about them. I just, I put them in their compartments, if you will. Okay, so this is USA Spending. And if you're not familiar with it, it's got a lot of data, extra data. But one of the things it does is it makes FPDS data pretty. So it's a dashboard. Let me come here and I'm going to put that UEI in. I hit enter again. I got to wait a second for the UEI to come back. Actually, while I do that, I'm going to see if anybody put in what they sell. Wait, you don't see my screen? Can anybody see my screen? Somebody give me an AV check. You should be able to see FPD or USA Spending at the moment. Can you let me know in the chat? And then I'm trying to find somebody who's got, okay, Doretta's got wellness. That's a tough one. So let me try that in a minute. But somebody let me know that you can see my screen. And while you're doing that, I'm pulling up FPDS. I'll talk through what I'm doing at the moment because it'll show it. But what I did at the moment is I took the company that won the contract I found in FPDS that I liked because it matches what I sell. And then I went to FPDS so I can see everything that company has won. I'm able to come down into FPDS and see like awarding sub-agencies. And so these guys, it's HUD and it's Social Security Administration. The thing that this tells me by researching my competitor, and this is what you should do is research your competitor to find out what other customers are buying from this company that sells what you sell, right? Social Security Administration's got $15 million. That's huge. That's a huge amount of money. I'd be willing to bet Graham's not totally tracking on that. And so that's important for you to track on. Yes. Everybody sees it. Good. Okay. So let's just see that. Okay. So I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully that made sense. I'm going to show another example here, and I'm going to switch out of sign language, and I'm going to try a different one here. It's always interesting when you do live, right? When you do live training, you never know what you're going to get. I could have staged this perfectly, but I really want you to understand how I do something when it doesn't go the way I wish it would go. So Doretta put in into the chat wellness, and so I'm going to try that. And so, by the way, do me a favor, put in extra words in there. So I put in wellness, right? And I'm going to do the same thing, action obligations. And so here's an $8 million contract. Right now, it sounds good. It matches the word wellness. Now I'm going to go validate this. So I'm going to click on view here. And when I'm going in, I'm viewing, the very first thing I do on a FPDS entry is I'm looking at the entry and I'm going all the way to the bottom to the description of the requirements so I can validate that it even matches my search intent, the keyword. I'm searching wellness. So here, performance-based services for health education, exercise testing, wellness services. Without knowing what her company does, I would say I just hit a winner, right? And so that's a good thing to see. Again, it's an 8A sole source. These are interesting things going forward. And I think this went to an A and C, right? And so here, by the way, I'm able to look at the data, and I know I'm moving pretty fast for those of you newer to it, but I can see that it's an A and C. That part doesn't matter to me as much as I can see right here, $8 million, right? That's an $8 million contract. And I can't quite figure out the data because you see how the period of performance and all this is all 2025. I would have to dig in there further to figure that out a little bit more. And inside of DSP or FPDS like this, you see task order levels. And so you would go up and see what something else is. But anyways, more importantly, today's training is about finding the agencies that are buying what I sell. What I'm able to see right here is that, sorry, I went a little far. Right here, I can see the funding office is the Defense Health Agency, so DHA. They did the contracting through the Army Contracting Command probably or something, but it's Defense Health Agency. So now I know how to kind of pursue that. Let me back that up for 1 second. Actually, let me grab and show you this one example. Remember how I took the UAI and I went to USA Spending. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to pull up the recipient. Right here is this recipient field. I'm going to put the recipient in there. You want to go in to USA Spending. You want to go into FPDS and explore and play around. This is how you develop your skills on it so that you don't pay people like me to do this for you. This is a fundamental skill like using Excel or Word or Google, right? When you learn it, I'm just introducing you to it, but you can do this on your own so you can really have control over the information you're trying to find. All right, I came in here just because this company won a contract for wellness. And so I'm trying to see, where else were they spending money? And I can look here, if I do sub-agencies really quick, I can see that Army and DHS and even Department of Justice, which is an interesting one. I'm assuming OJP is the Department of Justice. I could be wrong. But I can see a pretty decent amount of spending in there. And if I was her, right, I could come in here to all these contracts that this company is winning, and I can see the description areas. So not all of it is wellness, right? I can see right there that that's not wellness. Actually, I don't even know why this company won it because they're not a wellness company, which is a good thing for her. So she can go out and try to compete against it. By the way, if you didn't see what I did, I looked at all those descriptions and I saw they were like IT and project management. I'm like, what are you doing winning a wellness contract for? Okay, something else I want to show you just as it relates to how do you find top agencies buying what you sell? Let's leave it at wellness for 1 second. If we look at this and I scroll in, I was looking at individual opportunities, but I can come over here and look at the top departments that are have wellness, right? So I might ignore VA because, I'm a veteran, but she might not be a veteran, right? And the VA tends to go veteran first, but HHS I could have a shot at. So there's 64 opportunities over here. I can come in here and see this $1.7 million contract. I can click on view to see if it is actually wellness or if it's something else. So let's go ahead and look at this. Federal Occupation Health Wellness and Health Promotion Services. That seems like a fit. It certainly is something that goes on my identified, let me go research more list. Okay, but on the left-hand side, you're able to see not just the contracting. So here, you're able to see inside of HHS, there's subordinate agencies. You're able to see them, NIH or Indian Health Services, et cetera. This is really interesting, right? Look at this. Because I went into HHS, I'm able to see that the bulk of the wellness stuff went to the Indian Health Services. That might make me, if I was Doretta, who I'm doing this for because I saw it in the chat, if I was her, I might team up with an Indian Native American firm, right? So going into the Indian Health Services. And you can see the other agencies. I can also see the top or not top competitors necessarily, but the top winners in this space. And if I was you or her, I would look at these and I would research them and go, I don't know if that's Gila River Indian community, but I would look and go, do they specialize this? Or are they just dabbling in it? Is there room for me on their contract? How big is their contract? But it starts with me, and let me back up for a second and shrink this down. It starts with me looking at the data in FPDS to try to find out who sells or who buys what I sell. Let me look one more time, see if somebody else threw a thing in here. 5x5, people are saying they can see. I'm trying to see if there's one more thing. Well, commercial cleaning services, for example. That one there, cleaning is really an interesting thing. Are you talking about the buildings? But let's just talk about bathrooms and see if that comes up, just as an example. Oh, wait, I don't want the department. I don't care about HHS at the moment. So if I did bathrooms, right, it's all sorts of different stuff. I can already see there's some septic tanks. And so maybe this is bringing those Don Johns or whatever they're called to people's events. But you can see, like, this is Forest Service, so I can already see it's probably outdoor things. But if your business was facility cleaning or toilet cleaning, you could look at that. Or if you wanted to back up, really, you could put any word. And I'm running out of time, so let me back up and just talk to you for a second. I teach all the time that keywords are the most important things. Put keywords rocks in the chat, whether you agree with me or not. Just put that in there because I believe it. And here's why: because keywords you can keep narrowing down and align with the words that are in the description in FPDS or the description of the scope of work. When you use a keyword, that's pretty darn specific, right? Risk management framework, that's a key phrase or keyword, right? But when you use a NAICS code or a PSC, you're just getting a lot of stuff. And so there's different ways you can go through. I like browsing, don't get me wrong. I love browsing through everything. But when you're searching like this, if you can get good at identifying the keywords that work for you, then you're going to be able to find the opportunities. You're going to be able to find the agencies that buy what you sell. By the way, I did this same example on the word staffing, and I was able to find 12,000, I think, 12,000 contract activities within FPDS that related to staffing. Do you think I'm not going to be able to find 50 or 100 that look really good to me that I can then pick the top 20 or 40 to go after? I can, right? And I can see the size. I can see the type of work. Like one of them I was looking at when I did my early prep was registered nurses. It's like, well, if that's my expertise, then I can pursue it. And so I really want you to explore this. Feel free to reach out to me if you got a question about it, or put something into the chat, and you can ask me a question. I'm happy to keep coming back. I only use 30 minutes to do this training, but I want to introduce you to FPDS as the best way to find out who's buying what I sell, right? That's a different question than who's going to buy what I sell, because that's the forecast, that's this tool, that's that tool. But here, who's already bought what I sell, that's FPDS. And so get in there, practice it, and you will be able to build your pipeline going into 2026 in order to hit your revenue goals for 2026. Hey, just remember, government contracting, it's not a secret, it's just a process. If you're looking to increase your federal sales, check out Call Plan AI. It's my new company that I stood up. You can watch a video over there that's introducing you to where I'm at. Love to have you over there. All right, I'm going to end. I will see you in the next training.